The United States is often called the land of freedom and liberty. But a new Supreme Court draft opinion suggests otherwise. The leaked document suggests that the U.S. Supreme Court could overturn Roe Vs Wade, the landmark 1973 judgment that protects abortion rights in the United States. So where would this leave America's 167 million women? If the draft that was leaked ends up being similar to the court's decision, then reproductive rights in the United States will change overnight. Abortion will become illegal in at least 22 states. It will undo a landmark ruling. It will end 50 years of precedent, and some 36 million women could lose access to abortion. So what exactly does this leaked draft say? The leaked majority opinion was published by news outlet Politico. The Politico has published 98 pages of the draft opinion. It is said to have been written by Justice Samuel Alito. There are three main lines that are important. Let me read them out for you. First, the Supreme Court believes Roe vs. Wade must be overruled. The second is even more crucial. It says that the verdict was egregiously wrong from the start, quote unquote. And the third and the final one, summing it all up, it says that it is time to return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. Currently, there are three main takeaways from this draft opinion that has been leaked. Now, this is the first time in history that a draft opinion has been leaked. Firstly, a leak like this is an extraordinary breach. This is a document that has been circulating in the court and has been leaked while the case is still pending. It is a document leaking out of one of America's most revered institutions. This could even lead to a full-blown investigation involving the FBI. Secondly, it shows the conservative leaning of America's Supreme Court. 6 out of the 9 justices were appointed by Republican presidents. The other 3 were picked by Democratic presidents, Justice Alito and 4 others, namely Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, seem to be in favor of overturning it. But how the Chief Justice, John Roberts, votes will be crucial. Thirdly, the leaked document was described as a draft. This is not the final opinion of the Supreme Court. It could be a month, even more, before the Supreme Court officially rules in the case. The final decision could even differ from what the draft is saying at this point. Until now, abortion in the United States is guided by the landmark Supreme Court verdict, Roe vs. Wade. The 1973 case decided that access to abortion is a constitutional right. The 1992 ruling, Planned Parenthood vs. Casey, further upheld it. It says that women can get an abortion until the fetus is viable. That is usually around 22 to 24 weeks. So what happens if the Roe vs. Wade verdict is overturned? Does this mean abortion becomes illegal everywhere? Well, the answer is no. The onus lies on the states. Individual states will now decide whether to make abortion legal. Others have already implemented trigger laws. This would mean that if Roe vs. Wade falls, it will immediately restrict abortion. Take a look at the map on your screen now. The states marked in red are the ones that will definitely restrict abortion if Roe vs. Wade falls. There are at least 22 states where abortion is set to become illegal. Most of these are Republican-controlled states. The ones in orange are the ones where it will be accessible but not protected. The yellow states are the ones where abortion will continue to be legal. Those marked in blue, meanwhile, are where abortion will not only be legal, these states will also provide expanded access to those seeking abortion in the United States. Democratic governors are already pushing to enshrine abortion rights within their constitutions. This includes the states of California, New Mexico, and Michigan. Currently, 1 in 4 American women get an abortion at some point in their lives. Without Roe vs. Wade, they will be left scrambling for their basic rights. In the last few years, the U.S. has seen the highest increase in abortion restrictions since 1973. As of last year, 97 laws have been enacted in as many as 19 states. Overturning the Roe vs. Wade verdict means that the US would join countries that restrict abortion rights. Since 1994, only 3 countries have done this, namely Poland, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. So if the 1973 ruling is overturned, the US will be joining this group. Women are now calling this the last few days of reproductive freedom in America. Currently, abortion remains legal in every U.S. state. Each state has at least 1 clinic. But once Roe vs. Wade is overturned, it will create more and more new legal landmines, rapidly eroding the individual rights of American citizens. Red states could try to limit interstate travel for women traveling for abortions. Packages with abortion pills could be searched and even seized. Doctors could be arrested for criminal charges. It could also put other rulings in jeopardy, like the Griswold versus Connecticut, which legalized contraception in America. Obergefell versus Hodges, which upheld gay marriage in the country, and Loving versus Virginia, which protects interracial marriage in the United States. And to further decode what this draft opinion means for women in America is Nicole Brenner-Schmitz with us. She's a Democratic strategist joining us from Washington, D.C. Nicole, thanks very much for being here with us. What is your initial reaction to this leaked draft opinion?
Yeah, as somebody who's worked extensively in the abortion rights world, this is something we have been saying was on the precipice. This is why we fought so hard against Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett and even Neil Gorsuch appointments, because we knew this was what was coming. We knew that when they said under oath they thought Roe was established law, they were lying. And that's become very clear. Now, we did think this was coming down in June. That was, and presumably it's still when the Supreme Court will actually issue the opinion. But this opinion is particularly shocking, one, in that it's a leaked version. And this is not something we see commonly from the court, right? We see leaked things from Congress about meetings and bills and conversations, but the court is is much less so. But the opinion itself, we really thought that Republicans were going to lean into the fact that they were limiting it by certain weeks, that they were sending it back to the states. We thought that was the rhetoric that they were going to really put out there to the public, because America is a pro-choice country and because over 70% of Americans think Roe should be legal. But they didn't. It very clearly, in no uncertain terms, says this overturns Roe. Roe was wrongly decided, and this fixes that problem. And I think that was a little surprise in the messaging, because we anticipated it being a bit different.
All right. The very fact that this is a leaked draft opinion of the court's secretive deliberation process is concerning, like you said. What do you make of this?
It is concerning, the leaks. I mean, certainly that's not something we want to see become the common practice from the court. I could only speculate. I don't know who leaked it or why. There's lots of different theories running around out there, one of which is that someone was so egregiously concerned by how outrageous this opinion is that they wanted Americans to be aware before it came down, and they leaked it. That's one theory. Obviously cannot know if that's the truth. The reason I'm surprised by the messaging is because we have polled and focus grouped and talked to Americans for years. The numbers never change. Over 70% of Americans believe Roe should be the law of the land. So the reason we thought they were going to lean into messaging that says, no, we're not overturning Roe, we're simply fill in the blank, whether that's restricting the weeks, how far along a woman can be, or sending it back to the states, which is a very popular rhetoric from the. So women of a certain economic means in this country are going to be forced to carry pregnancies to term that they do not want to, which takes away their rights and their ability to make their own choices about their own bodies. Or they are going to seek out an abortion, but it will not be safe, which is the saddest part of all. This could mean death for certain women. Abortion is the safest medical procedure in the world when it is done properly with the right medical personnel there. And what we're going to see is women trying to self-inflict. We're not going to see abortions go down. We're simply going to see safe abortion numbers go down.
Nicole, there has been a sense that this comes along expected lines ever since the Supreme Court witnessed the coming in of a conservative majority. Do you agree that this does not come as a complete shocker?
I would completely agree with that, although I will say lots of people were sounding the alarm. Really, this is the direct result of November 8th, 2016. This is what Donald Trump promised he was going to do. This is what Republicans promised they were going to do. They were going to put unabashedly anti-choice justices on the court. And then they had the opportunity to do 3, which swung the court that way. Pro-choice activists have been sounding this alarm and being called hysterical for doing so. And here we are.
What are the avenues available then at this point? There could be demands that the U.S. Senate must pass the Women's Health Protection Act. Some could call their state representatives and urge them to adopt the most aggressive pro-choice laws possible in advance of what's coming. To what extent are these viable options?
So the House has passed whole women's health. The Senate has not. Obviously, in the Senate, the Democrats have a mere 50 votes, and unfortunately, we do have a anti-choice senator in our caucus in Joe Manchin, and the Republicans, in theory, have some pro-choice senators. Senators Murkowski and Collins both claim that label and have both said repeatedly that they think Roe shouldn't be overturned, although voted for Supreme Court justices that presumably were leading us to this. Obviously, we're leading us to this moment. Whole women's health could be put forward, and if it were to be passed, President Biden could sign it into law, and that would be a legal course. It doesn't seem likely that that's something that's going to happen. So it goes to states. So we have many states, Maine, my home state of Washington State, California, that have done things that codify and protect Roe in those states. But what this says is that states who want to completely ban abortion, including instances of rape and incest, no exceptions at all, that would be legal to do. So you're going to have an America that is completely divided of the 50 states of where women can access this safe reproductive health and where they cannot. And it's going to depend on what state you live in. So places like Michigan, that has an antiquated law from 1931 that criminalizes abortion, would go right into law when this happens. So you've seen the governor right now of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, standing up and fighting and saying we need to fix this, but she has a Republican legislature. So Democrats need to take focus of where are these state legislatures that we need to work and invest in and flip so that we can make sure that more states are passing these laws.
We're leaving it there for the moment. Nicole, thanks very much for joining us here on WION World is One and sharing those perspectives. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.